Hey, it's Friday. I'm Steve Gieder, your host with the most weed from coast to coast. And today I'm out here on the lovely west coast of Northern California of the USA. What up, Tree 14 in the hizzy? Nikka T in the house. YouTube is a little bit problematic, so we're gonna do this live right here on Instagram. It's always worked out good. They just don't like when we get high sometimes, so that's all. We'll just lean off to the side, smoke my weed off to the side. I hope everybody's having a good Friday. Thanks for joining in. I invite you to come with me into the cannabis this week, because we're gonna go on a little journey. It's the journey to CANNIFEST, and this week we'll be talking about solventless assessment and many other things. It's going good. How's everybody doing today?
Yo, what's good? Yeah,
What
I'm not gonna
up?
fucking hide my smoking. I'm sorry.
No, I've never done it before, but I don't know what they do. I don't know what, they got the shit blocked all the way, but you know.
Feeling pretty
How's it
blessed,
going?
man. Yeah, man.
Cheers. Happy 420 something. Yeah, I always went live on this IG, and I started doing this thing like a couple years ago, and then one day they just, whoop, my account was gone, and all the content was
Yeah,
gone.
bro. I've
Everybody
got
has
mine
the story.
taken quite a few times now. Quite a few times, yeah, man.
All right. It's a trip. It's a trip. Well, thanks for joining today on Into the Cannabis. We like to go take people out into the cannabis, but we promise to bring them back. You know, we go on a little journey, and it's kind of the journey towards CANNIFEST. We're hyping all things CANNIFEST and getting ready for this big festival we're doing. But this is all about you. This interview here. Just wanted to reach out and say what up and connect the dots and find out a little bit more about
Right
who
on,
Nikka
man.
T is and what's going
I
on.
appreciate you
And what's
reaching
going
out.
on
Yeah,
in your
man. I'm
world.
staying busy.
You know?
I'm on a little tour right now, a worldwide terp tour. So that's kind of what's going on in my life.
Hell yeah. Right on. Could you imagine, like, 10 years ago, even thinking of, I know maybe 10 years ago, some legalization was happening and whatnot, but just the whole idea of like doing a worldwide
Yeah, man.
terp
It's a
tour,
trip.
for
It's
example.
a trip. For sure.
Some good stuff. What are you smoking
You know,
on
this was a
today?
handful that I think Dallas over in Michigan, the event organizer, the event owner over at the Big Clouds event, the Heady in the Clouds event, he just handed me a handful of this. I can't remember what he said it was, but it smokes good. He said it was living soil grown, which I appreciate. I think it's a Runts cross of some nature, Rainbow Sherb cross of some nature.
Sounds tasty.
Yeah, man.
I'm smoking on some kind of gelato cross right now. Some, what is it? What is it? It's what am I smoking right now? I'm smoking on G Mosa. Sorry, this is G Mosa. It's the mimosa cross with the GMO cookies. It's an interesting flavor. This pheno's interesting. It just it has like some liqueur flavor or something. You ever taste some herb like that? It's like, oh, what's that?
Okay.
Liqueur.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Something like that.
I've had hashes recently that have like a very, I don't know, alcohol ester to them, because I don't feel like when it tastes like liquor, I know what you're saying, it's almost more of a feeling, and I feel like that's not even a terpene, that's an ester or a thiol, because we're learning more about the terpenes, and a lot of this stuff I'm learning about is that like sour diesel and skunk, is that those smells really aren't terpenes that are causing it. That's why it's so hard to recreate terpenes utilizing a COA and, you know, in botanical form, if you will, because most of what we're tasting and smelling in those skunk and diesels are not terps, they're thiols and esters. So yeah, it's trippy.
Right on. So that's not even showing up on these
Nope.
terpene tests we're doing yet. And in the coming years, we'll be seeing these esters and thiols and other things on the test.
Sure.
I'm sure, because we want to know. We want to know. People want to know, you know, what's in their weed. And it has been a mystery with all these, like, some of the nastier strains, some of that earthier, dank shit. It's not being represented through those terpene profiles, really. It's true. Seems like
for sure
some missing elements there. So you're on a worldwide terp tour, man. Tell me a little bit more about that. I mean, I see what you're doing from a distance, right? And I know plenty of people that have been involved in some of your classes or seminars or different gatherings and stuff. But tell me a little bit more about, like, you know, what you're doing now and how that's
these
evolved.
Tours kind of started last year, where I just kept booking out so many dates in advance, where I book out like 6 months in advance, and it'd basically be every single weekend I was at a new destination. So I created a tour out of it, because I come from the DJ world, where I always wanted to go on tour as a DJ, but nobody really booked my tour for me, if you will. So I just kind of figured I would be my own agent and book my own terp tour, which would not only be about terps, but it's also about my DJing, because it all goes hand in hand. So the terp tour is like a combination of teaching classes, judging events, hosting events, DJing, and making appearances, I guess. Yeah.
Right on. Building the community,
man.
Building the bridges.
For sure,
man.
for sure.
I mean, so tell me some locations you're going to, because I know, like, as cannabis, as the seed spreads and the pollen blows in the wind, it's getting far out there. You know, we got 26 states that have legalized cannabis at this point. Minnesota was just 26 to legalize.
I'm all over the place.
Where are you going?
Kind of started in Denver, and it's gone to Michigan a couple times now. It's gone to New York. I've gone to New York. I've gone to, where else? We're doing some stuff in the Bay Area. I'm up in Humboldt. Soon I'll be going to Guam, as long as this typhoon didn't fully wipe it out. We're still waiting on some finer details as to the power situation on the island, because that typhoon was pretty intense. But that was on the summer terp tour. Also, there was a Germany date, but I'm still putting the pieces together with that one. People are slacking. I'm getting full verbal guarantees, and then people back out last minute after they say that I have their word. So let that be something to take note of for the listeners out there. If you're going to book me, be fucking ready to book me, because it's a waste of my time and yours. And it really upsets me when somebody locks off my calendar, being that I'm so booked out and I'm barely making any money on the tour, really. I think I spend more money to go on tour, get my house watch and the kid watch and life. So make sure you're real about it. Otherwise, it just fucks up my schedule and it fucks up my money. So I'm being kind of blunt with that, you know, with you, and not trying to take over this positive feed here, but it's just something that's been happening quite often.
No, dude, it's all quite positive, bro. You're trying to do positive things, and you know, you got to set boundaries to keep the positivity flowing, man. I get it. It's all good. All good. That ain't right. People block you out, and then whatever. You know, I'm in the middle of booking a bunch of things for CANNIFEST, and we're always doing different events and working with musicians.
And we can be our own little energy. Musicians and us DJs, we're a ball of fire sometimes. So dealing with me as a DJ is difficult. It might be more difficult to deal with me as a DJ than dealing with me as a judge or some other entity, you know, because, you know, I want things a certain way so that I can get my head right before I touch stage.
Yeah, no, I get it. Like, I love music, and I love just our whole culture in that way that, you know, I'm not necessarily a musician myself, but all my friends have always been that way, and that's where creative people stick together. But I've always, like, tried to empower more artistic friends, you know, and yeah, sometimes it's challenging, but there's one thing I get. It's like a lot of times musicians and other artists, when you're trying to procure a situation, you know, people like things a certain way, and that's why you want, typically that's why people want to see those people, you know, that's why somebody wants to come see Nikka T, DJ Nikka T on the ones and twos, because you do it a certain way. They want to see that, right? So when you go to play a show or whatnot, you got to have your shit lined up. You can't have some speaker in the back cracking.
Yeah, we're
shit
particular for sure,
or whatever, you know.
And I've also thrown events same
And there's
way with you, so
there's
I
something to be said
understand
about
what an artist needs. You know, I had some artists asking me for all the green M&Ms and doing wild stuff like that. You know what I mean? To fill their riders, their hospitality riders. But at the same time, I filled it.
Oh yeah.
I didn't give a fuck. I was going to do that. I paid somebody to pull out all the green M&Ms, because if that's what that artist wants, and maybe it was a joke, but I still am going to fulfill the rider because I'm an artist as well. And if you want a certain brand of hand towel for the stage, I'll figure it out.
Right. Yeah, no, I remember the first time I got the, you know, the certain kind of peanut butter, certain kind of bread and jelly and all, and I was like, oh, that wasn't too bad, but man, all right, somebody likes it a certain way. And then after the event, I went in the back to clean everything up. I seen the sandwich out there. I looked, I was like, oh, look, they made one sandwich. And then you look over and there was one bite taken out of the sandwich and it's set right back down. And you know what?
Sometimes you need just that one bite of the sandwich, bro.
Again.
And you want it prepared a certain way so you can go on stage and crush it. I don't know.
I mean, I can remember plenty of times following down a handful of mushrooms with like a bite or two.
I always
of
ask
peanut butter
for
and
2
jelly,
vegan protein bars, because if all else fails, I just need to get a little protein in my system so I have the energy to perform. And really, ideally, I like a beer, and I don't drink much, but I drink while I DJ to keep my cotton mouth down, because I'm constantly yelling on the mic and creates more cotton mouth and smoking. And I like a little bit of that extra added energy to my set, you know, or to me when I'm performing.
Oh yeah. Well, there's something about our culture and community too around cannabis that's really particular. You know, we're talking about being particular and people having a unique palate for things, or a desire to get exactly what we want, you know, or what they want. And so I see that folds over into our cannabis community in some ways. The cultivators, the rosin makers, you know, for example. Many people are extremely particular about every detail, and that's why we're able to get such products and such medicine in a way. So, you know, thanks for that. You know, people out there with your particular needs and trying to do things just right.
Compulsive, and I feel like, yeah, that's how we get this stuff. So clean. I really am. Yeah, I'm neurotic.
Definitely.
I'm obsessive compulsive. I have some serious problems. But it makes my hash pretty good.
Right. Right on. When you're traveling a bunch, what do you have some kind of like things you need to do when you get the hotel rooms and stuff? Is there like, you have like a little,
I mean, I generally like to shower off. I generally like to shower off the plane first and foremost, and set down all my luggage and go through my luggage. Generally, I'm like pulling out like the fucking vacuum seal bags from the socks and, you know, pulling out different things to get into my backpack so I can actually go to the club with what I need on me, you know? Yeah, little switch and then charge.
Get straight. That's it. Boom. Good stuff. Yeah, we might have to, I might have to talk to see, I don't know, maybe you'd be interested. We'll have to talk more about it, you know. Maybe playing some music up here in Humboldt. We're doing this whole CANNIFEST thing, and the night before CANNIFEST, we're doing this Head Stash Gala, which is going to be where we announce the winners of the competition. But we're also allowing brands to take the stage and represent, drop something on us. You know, they get 15 minutes or 30 minutes to represent in a way that's different than standing behind your booth doing the typical thing. We're just trying to keep it creative and keep our community up on the front, up in the up and up, you know. And so we invite people to do a brand drop, you know, come out to the Head Stash Gala. So it's going to be more of like a variety show. So we'll have a little bit of music, then we'll have some people do some things, and we'll announce a couple things. We'll get a little more music on. So it might be a cool opportunity to I don't know. See if you might be interested in something like that. It kind of seems
Yeah,
like
I
up
could be
your alley.
down. I could be down to DJ. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
We'll have
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
talk more about that for sure. I was I was just getting a little taste of some of your stuff, and I remember some years back. I don't know where it was. Maybe at the Golden Tarp Award or something down there in Soham. I remember
Okay.
listening
I
to
don't know if
some
I
of your
was at that
music.
one. Possibly, but
I don't know if it was that or some after party for
shit.
something.
Yeah. DJ'd a bunch of the High
But
Times shows over the years.
yeah,
I DJ'd for Dougie
mm-hmm.
and Hitman Glass and the Chalice Fest and Happy Place and all them over the years. And now we're doing Best of New
There you
York, and
go.
it's been some nice vibes running with those Best of New York events, because it's the type of crowd that I really like to play for. And it's not necessarily like the ideal crowd because nobody's dancing really. You know, you get people walking by the dance, but it's more of like an ambient crowd. And I don't know, I get to really play the music that I love playing, from soul to hip hop to Amapiano and Afro beats and reggae and dance hall. Like, that's kind of my vibe. And
Oh yeah.
whereas when I get into places like Michigan, it's like bass heavy scenes. I definitely have to change up what I'm going to play quite a
Yeah.
bit. And it was fun. Michigan was quite fun. And
Right
it
on.
gives me more, eclectic ability, if you will, the more that I play these events that are a little bit out of my comfort zone. It wasn't out of my comfort zone by any means. It's a bunch of stoners standing around after they've been blazing all day. That's like my zone. But Michigan wants, a
No, I
little bit
feel
more
you.
bass music. And I love that. I like that Michigan wants that, because for me, it
Definitely,
gets me a little bit
definitely.
more, in that creative flow. And I get to pull up some tracks from back in the day that I'm like, oh yeah, I think I made a dubstep remix of that dub plate. Let's bring that one out the crate,
Right
Yeah.
on. Yeah, no, it is like that. You gotta play to your audience, read the room and vibing out with people. That's what it's all about. I think that's something the herb always does, brings us closer together uh on that way, connecting, connect on that vibe. And I think a lot of people through the music and just other gatherings, there's not very many things we do that are still primal now, smoking herb and dancing around. Those are two things I'm pretty sure people have been doing that forever, since
Yeah, I
somebody
mean, it
decided to
goes
bang
hand
on
in
the
hand.
drum or something.
I love it. And I
Um,
learned really to promote myself
with
as a hash maker from promoting myself as a DJ. And I started from the street team level. So like back in when I was living out in California, I can't remember the year. Maybe it was like 2005. No, maybe it was 2000. I don't know. I'm really bad at dates. But I was living back in California at the time. I'm like always been back and forth, I guess, for a while anyways. But I was living full time back in California, and I started working for True School. And True School, yeah, was one of the first
True
like
School.
hip hop
That's
street
awesome.
teams, and really the most prevalent hip hop only street teams. And eventually, it branched out. But True School was one of the first hip hop street teams in the Bay Area. And
Right. I got my true
yeah, there you
NASA
go.
shirt on
So
yesterday.
they've been around for a long time, and Ren, the owner, is just a fucking amazing guy. He was a big mentor in my game, and he taught me the ropes of being a street teamer. And this is before really the internet started cracking. It was really in that time when social media was just coming to play. So you can probably figure out the year from that.
Mm-hmm.
And initially, I was the guy on the street with a whole box of flyers. There was probably 15 to 20 different events, flyers in this box. And initially, Ren was like, all right, you got to take these stacks to this club, these hip hop ones to this hip hop club, these reggae ones to this reggae club, these ones to this club. And you got to figure out how to get into that club with these flyers. So it was like a game back in the day, because most of these like swanky clubs wouldn't let some kid off the street in with flyers, So I learned a lot of ropes from a ground level of how to market myself as a DJ, first, just to get in the door basically. And you get in real cool with the security. Eventually that security is the same security at the dispensaries popping off in California. And it just all kind of went hand in hand. And I started doing work with the dispensaries and the clubs. And eventually I started getting booked as a DJ at the clubs. I guess before that, I was like, for a very small amount of time, I was telling the street teamers which flyers to go to which clubs and how to get in. That was like my little secret. Like, this one, you got to hide them. This one, you're cool. You just got to mention my name or blah, 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 you know, and like, it was a fun game, and it gave me a gift of gab. It gave me ability to speak and learn the ways of the streets, I feel like. So, and plus I was selling a lot of weed in the back alleyways while I was flyering. That was like, I guess, part of it. A lot of cats knew me at Club 6 to always have herb on me, and like there was this back hallway at Club 6, which was one of the first venues that I feel like got my digs in, and I sold a lot of weed in the hallway of Club 6 as a kid. Yeah.
Nice. We had a party one time there, after party for the Maximum Yield trade show. We used to kind of put some parties together because everybody came together for those trade shows, but they would have these like, you know, just kind of corporate dorky parties. They didn't know, you know,
I feel like
just
I
wasn't the
went
party
to
you wanted
that
to be
party.
at. I'm trying to think. You may have. I'm trying to think of what the so Todd and myself and Lori, my partner now, the three of us put it together. I'm trying to think of who played there. I think it was like,
You didn't have a skate ramp there. Danny Danko's shredding the skate
I don't know
ramp, did you? Was that Club 6? At one point in time,
No,
there was like a cannabis party where Danko
party.
was crushing it on the mini ramp at one of those like those clubs in that same neighborhood. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm trying to think of who was there. I think like Gift of Gab. I think we had play that night. Oh man. Anyway, yeah, I definitely can't remember the details of who was playing that night, but that was a good party. Club 6, dude. What's up? Nice, cool. Well, shit. So where were you from? Where were you from before that? I think you know, as far as I knew, you're from out that
No,
Colorado.
I grew up in the Bay.
Your
I
life
grew up in the Bay. My family's from New York, but I grew up in the Bay.
Okay.
And yeah,
right on.
grew up in the Bay, and I've been out in Colorado though since like '99, 2000. So over 20 years, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
On and off.
Right on. Yeah, that was like since like right before. I don't know how long has it been since Colorado.
Medical was like, I don't know. There was all this like weird
medical.
gray area stuff, so it messes up my head because I got my first medical card in Colorado. Now going back, I think that couple went to jail or something for having like an illegal dispensary. But either way, I had my first card in 2003. Me and my buddy DJ Synergy, actually, my buddy Matt Palmer, I think he found out about it. And it was like early stages. You know, 215 was cracking in Cali, and we were starting to talk about things in Colorado, and people opened up dispensaries with doctors in like old abandoned churches and shit.
Yeah.
Some people in this feed might know what I'm talking about. I think one of the two of that couple has been out for a long time. I don't even know if they ever went to jail, and they've been in the industry. The other side of that couple, I don't know what happened to them. And either way, I would go to this fucking church and pick up my weed in a little Tupperware, sometimes in a baggie, and I would put it into my Tupperware with a little medical symbol on it and stuff. And but when Colorado actually went medical, it was 2010, I believe, because by 2009, it was still kind of a gray area, and I had just moved back to Colorado to help a buddy with the dispensary. And by 2010, it really like went, you know, I'd say I'm really bad with the terminology, but it went legit in 2010, and then by 2015, 2015, it went recreational.
Yeah, it went like recreational or whatever. Yeah. No, I was just having flashbacks because right around that time, 2004 or 5 or something, I think, I started going out to Colorado selling grow supplies when the grow shop thing started to blow up. There was always a couple, but the old heads. But then all of a sudden, once the medical cards started being handed out, the grow shop scene started popping off. That was like the first wave of the whole thing, was supported by this whole grow your own shit and sell it to the homies vibe. And then real soon after that, you know, the dispensaries started popping up, but there was
Yeah.
an
Yeah, it was
in-between
Wild
phase that
Wild
was
West, and
definitely
there were
pushed along by the
dispensaries, and I was
cultivators.
driving from
Yeah,
Cali to Colorado,
the
bringing
cultivators just started
packs and
pushing, dude.
bringing hash, and I kind of got known like before it went fully legit in Colorado. I kind of got known for having a duffel bag full of hash, and that's really how I funded Essential. Eventually, I was so loud about it that I had to get taxed way back. You know, they back taxed me as 280E as a drug trafficker, probably because of all these interviews I keep doing, telling people what I was doing. But yeah, they got me good. I'm a drug trafficker. But now I'm
dude,
proud
I'm
of
sorry. I
that
ain't trying
shit.
to look.
I'm a drug
A
trafficker.
trafficker, bro. Yeah. Cheers to that, dude. Right on. So Bay Area, you grew up, like, where'd you go to school and shit? What
I
part of the
went
Bay?
to I grew up in Marin County. I went to Novato High for a couple weeks, months.
Okay.
I don't know, a little bit in and out, and then I got
Nevada,
into
yeah.
some trouble, and I started going to College of Marin instead of high school. I got kicked out of high school, and yeah, it was kind of eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And you
College of
decided not
Marin
to go
instead,
back, right?
and I got all my credits transferred into an independent study program. I kind of created my own little niche, if you will, and I got to graduate
Right on.
high school early,
Yeah.
not with a GED, but like a real high school diploma. And I just kept trucking from there. Yeah.
Cool. So do you remember, like, the first
Yeah,
time
I
you got
just
high?
told this story yesterday, actually. Yeah, so it's fresh on the mind.
Sorry to repeat, dude.
No,
You gotta tell me
I was
again. I didn't hear
on
it.
I was on a family vacation, and we had a German foreign exchange student staying with us. The German foreign exchange student was staying with friends of my parents, but for this family camping trip, he came out with us. And it's funny because it's like brings it right back to Soham. And this was actually in Bembo. And I remember specifically being on the river underneath the fucking bridge in Benbow. And it's crazy. More of the stories come back after like thinking about it and being like, we used to go camping to Benbow, and we used to go to this place called Strawberry Creek. And imagining it, Strawberry Creek never had enough water to be this vision. So I remember either being on a raft or being on a rock in the middle of this river, and the German foreign exchange student hands me a cigarette. And I didn't even know it was a cigarette really back then. I was kind of naive. I was 12. I mean, I guess I knew it was a cigarette, but I'd never tried one. I liked smoke. I already knew I liked smoke, but I took a drag of this thing, and I was like, and I threw it.
He said, I like smoke.
And I threw it into the water. And he got really mad at me. He's like, what the fuck? I can't just buy those here. I'm underage. I can buy them in Germany, but I can't buy them in the U.S. I brought them all the way from Germany. He was mad at me. And he pulls out of his cigarette pack something else, looked like this. And he's like, don't throw this one. He lights it up, takes a few drags, and he passes it to me. And I was still intrigued by it. You know, it's a little bit older of a German foreign exchange student. I was into it. And I took the drag of this spliff, is what it was. It was a spliff the very first time I smoked weed. Fuck. And I liked it. And it wasn't the same as the cigarette. And it didn't make me cough. And I was like, oh, that tastes good. Passed it back to him, and yeah, it was a wrap ever since. In fact, I'm still addicted to spliffs, like the same way that first time I tried it. I bought every single vaporizer. And now, granted, I take dabs. I do take dabs a lot these days. I take a couple a day at least, sometimes more. Sometimes 35 one sitting.
Classic.
But yeah, I just seen Sapo. Big up my brethren Sapo on the feed, because he just took 35 dabs with me in one sitting as well, out in Michigan. Yeah. Sapo. And yeah, man. Fucking, that was the first time I smoked weed.
He's on there. That's funny, because you say you had the German exchange student, and then a minute ago you're telling me about doing a terp tour in Germany.
No connection. I hope I make it to Germany. I still haven't made it to Germany.
Subconscious stuff. Right on. Right on. Spreading that seed across the world now, dude.
Truly.
How about making hash? You remember that first like
Ooh,
hash making
that
adventure
one
you were
gets
on?
even more foggy because family and friends had gardens since I was a little kid, and I know that there's photos of me making hash at a very young age. But like me, like actually physically doing it, because I think I was a prop. But me physically doing it, because I also made my son a prop. Like when he was around the same age, I propped him up with a bamboo pole and shit, and kind of redid it. But I I don't remember the first time making hash. I know that it was in Northern California, so it was kind of before I came out to Colorado. And I started falling in love with
Mm-hmm.
hash with this group of friends, Dana, Jimmy, and Dana, and a few other people in that crew who I'm still friends with today, which is lovely. I get to catch up with them all the time. But that's kind of who I started smoking hash with, and it's because I wanted something more. And eventually, when you want something more, you learn to make it, and you learn to figure out where to get the material to make it. And so I'd say I was probably around 15 when I really started, 15, 16 when I really started making hash, maybe 17, because as I said, I didn't really go
Uh-huh.
to regular school for very long. I started going to the junior college, so I started making friends in different avenues, and we'd find sesh spots after, in between classes at the junior college, and yeah, I still had high school friends and stuff for sure, and that's they were that my age, this crew. Maybe Dana,
Right.
Dana's a little older, but
It, It's funny. I have like a flashback. I flash back to like, just as I'm asking you and you're telling me, I'm like, all right, what was the first? What was I doing of like 16 or 17 involved? How did that? What hash did I have? And like, I I remember back then there was some old heads would have these little Keef boxes, and that was one way to get it. But I started. A friend of ours, sister, she was up in New York and invited us up to visit, and we met this guy and Dr. Dave, and one thing leads to another, and we're bringing back these like big old, kilos of hash. Uh, so that was the hash I had. Like, I'm 46, so I don't know how much
you got a
older I
couple
am
on
than
me.
you or not, but it seems like I got a couple on you there. It's in like, there wasn't like, I also started a grow shop when I was 23 in Humboldt. So I started selling bubble bags like
Yeah,
23 years ago. So as far as I've seen the evolution of the whole bubble bag and hash machines, and like I've sold just
that's
as
what's
many
up.
hash washers
That's
as
what's up.
anybody out
Respect.
there,
I
back
love
in the
that.
day. North
Oh,
Coast
I feel like I heard of
Horticulture
that.
Supply.
I
That's
feel
my
like I heard of
store.
that.
My store is up here in Humboldt. NH,
Oh,
NHS people called us, and we had a bunch of stores, and we got one left now, rocking in
okay.
Fortuna. And we grew with the community and kind of shrunk down
Yep.
with the
Yep.
needs as well. And lots of other people moved into the same space, so there was less need for me to have a bunch of stores. But either way, I'm just saying, it's just the evolution of hash and the accessibility to it, and then the whole home grow situation and how that just evolved right along with, this artisanal hash making. It's just something I've been watching the whole time. I was, some of the first people to talk about biology in the soil at the retail store, trying to sell. I sold the first biological tea to people, at the store,
Yeah,
and
that's what's up.
mycorrhiza, that kind of stuff. So all this living soil stuff really is like at the root of it all, and it's amazing to see it taking the forefront now, because people like yourself and other leaders in the artisanal solventless and hash and extract market are really helping keep that on the map. And it should be all those different terps and whatnot. I'd love to hear your take on a few of these things, because I've been hearing a lot of talk about sun-grown herb and Appalachian grown herb and different things. When things are grown outdoors, they're definitely coming in contact with more elements of the world in general, and definitely have a potential to have a wider array of terpenes and different things like this. But I've also been working with farmers and procuring fresh frozen, and working with hash makers, rosin makers, and whatnot, to create products to put on the shelf as well, So I also see, from my perspective, a lot of the different, ups and downs, the ins and outs of that world. There's a lot to it, right? It's not just, there's a lot of B grade hash out there, right? That's easy to make maybe, but creating this like tier one, like top AA, AAA rosin is a whole nother world. And I've seen it done from, dry farmed herb, and I see it done from, aeroponically grown indoor plants. So I'd love to hear just a little bit without asking you a bunch of questions specifically about it. I'd just love to hear your take on the differences when you're sourcing plants from dry farm, outdoor, Mundo, up to indoor, LA or whatever, hydro grown up in the warehouse.
For me, when you're talking about
what do you see?
sun-grown cannabis, terroir really does play an important role. And when I'm thinking about terroir as a hash maker, I'm thinking about more of the protection of that outdoor plot. How much wind is it getting, or how much, or the lack thereof, really? How much protection from the wind and external environment? How is the ground covering? Because if you're getting a lot of like red dust from your environment getting up on your plants, it will affect the hash. It will make darker hash. It will, blend in with those trichomes at a fine level. So for me, when I'm looking for outdoor, especially in Colorado and in extreme outdoor environments, it really needs to be a protected environment. And ground covering is really, really important when you're speaking about the trichomes. And then when it comes to indoor farming, it's been a big question lately, with salt nutrients or synthetic nutrients compared to like organics or living soil. And I'm kind of partial to my own living soil flowers. I've gotten to a point where I know exactly what goes into my soil. In fact, I just added all the amendments to my soil. So my friends and family are mixing soil right now for me as we speak. But I actually got to add what I wanted in that round. I know everything that's going into the product, and I know how it should taste on a certain level. I know when to let up certain things, in teas. Whereas, I don't know, I can, at this point, my palate is getting so refined, I guess, from teaching assessment and from doing this consistently and judging cup after cup after cup, that I'm able to really taste it when even an organic grower uses too much molasses at the end, or a
thank you. There we go.
Even check this. I'm being able to taste when KNF farmers are using too much of those like fruit extracts. I can taste like that fermented fruit, and it's not really that's not what I'm looking for. I don't want to taste the fermented fruit. I want to taste the strain's capabilities. And so even in organic and living soil and KNF applications, there's things you can do that are bad that I don't want to smoke. So I generally just want to smoke the flowers from my own garden these days. This one's kind of a rarity. I'm trying some new things. But generally what I have in front of my feet is always something from my own garden. Generally what I've touched road with is always something from my own garden. And when it comes to the difference between synthetics and living soils on a concentrate level, oftentimes it is very hard to tell from a judge's perspective. But at the same time, I had 3 people in Michigan come up to me. I'm not going to name names or anything, asking me to give them an honest take on their concentrate. And they gave me a 2 gram or a 3.5 gram bucket. And everyone, or 2 of them, there was one that was different, but 2 of them, I went right back up to the dude, who gave me it. Or actually, one of them I wrote out a message and then talked to the gentleman. And I'm definitely not trying to put anyone on blast, because the product was amazing. It smelled amazing. It looked amazing. When I dabbed it, there was just something lacking. And I could also taste slight similarities in other things that I've tasted, if you will. And I asked him if it was grown with Athena. And he said yes. And instantly, I was like, okay, that's the only issue I had, because I think it was grown well. I think it was processed well. It smells great. It just had a little bit subdued nature when it came to the flavor. And this guy this
I
guy
could
was like,
taste
all
that
right, great.
Athena
We're
on
gonna put
that
it in our living
ass.
soil beds, and we're gonna get it to you next time, and let you know what you think,
Right,
because these cats had both.
right.
So
I love it, man. I love it. This is a great
oftentimes
conversation,
I
dude,
can
because
smell
I don't have a
parts of that
conversation very
puzzle though.
often where
So
people
like
are talking about this
Athena's
shit,
not bad, but if
details.
I can
Yeah,
taste the line cleaner in your Athena grown product,
you did something wrong.
maybe
Yeah,
it's not even something wrong. Maybe it's something Athena teaches you to do, but or the program. But I don't want to taste pool
yeah.
water in my cannabis or my cannabis extracts.
Oh, oh no, no, no. No, that reminds me again of just like back in the day at the shop. I just remember the very first couple times thinking to myself, man, I swear this dude's weed tastes a lot like
Yeah,
this A-green
exactly.
bone meal. The A-green bone meal, they put mint in that A-green bone meal. It has a mint in there so it doesn't smell funky. They put mint extract in that shit. And we used it forever on the weed, dude. I started tasting that in people's weed, and nowadays I'm like, do you use A-green? People were like, what the fuck? I just remember the first couple times calling people out. I'm like, man, you got to lay off the molasses, bro, or whatever. And you can really definitely,
and it
without a doubt, taste
might give your
those
stuff better bag
ingredients.
appeal. I'm not gonna say that upping your carbs toward the end of your process isn't going to make your flowers look amazing in a bag or in a jar. But from a hash maker's perspective, I tell people to lay off the carbs, lay off the sugars, lay off that stuff towards the end, because you really need to thin out that waxy cuticle and turn those carbs into oils. So,
well, now we got a bunch of companies selling like terp enhancement products and things, specifically adding terps.
I've seen that. Yeah,
into the plants at the end. And like, I remember back in the day, like way back in the day, we were thinking of like different things to add to the resi at the end to give it a little boost of some of this or that. And they came out with those it was like that pomegranate shit, the first round. It was like these little round jars, dude. We used to, throw that in the reservoir to see what would happen. And then people were like, oh shit, really strong juice extracts, if added in at the right time, like a couple weeks before flush, could actually benefit me this way, or it smells more like berries, or just different shit people do all the time. So when you're concentrating things down into hash form or other cannabis extracts, you really you can end up with a really increased, just incredible levels of things that are just unnatural to herb, really, to be in there. So it's like, I wonder as all this progresses, how much of how much of that stuff will become obvious to us. Like you can taste certain brands, you can taste certain things, you start to taste
strawberry Fanta,
some of these
flush.
other ones too.
Oh shit, my phone. Oh,
Strawberry Fanta flush, dude. Exactly, dude. People go. I mean, and the idea of like, it started out with a lot of it with the biological stuff, because we started learning that you can feed your microbes like some sugars in different ways, and then that's food for them. So I was like, all right, put molasses in there. So then people just started adding other natural sugars and stuff, and seeing the results, But yeah, tell me a little bit more about what you're looking for in a final hash product. What does your assessment look like? Like that are you teaching your classes in a way that you're having your students or whatnot learn how to assess hash at the end, or they're learning their best to
if you're speaking about Ganjier,
if you're speaking about
all the way Ganjier, I'm a Ganjier council member and a Ganjier instructor, and we teach assessment.
Okay.
The student, I guess I'll start at the beginning. If we're talking about Ganjier. No, you're good.
Yeah, sorry.
Because I try to separate my things. Because I teach my own classes, but I also teach for Ganjier, and I've taught for other entities throughout the world. But yeah.
So yeah,
I'm really just a teacher these days, and I've always kind of been a teacher. I started with swim instruction and went to surf instruction briefly, and snowboard instruction up in Tahoe. I was doing a little snowboard instruction, and so I feel like I've always kind of been a teacher, and this went hand in hand. And Ganjier is a beautiful platform. It's ran by Green Flower Media, powered by Green Flower Media. at the helm is this gentleman named Derek Gilman, and he's just a good guy and very knowledgeable and fun to be around. So I love getting up there every month to hang out with not only Derek, but Swami and Kevin Jodry and I don't know, a whole bunch of other, Aaron from Dockside or Seaside, Dockside.
Yeah.
Dockside CO. I'm always fucking that one up. Anyways, he's a good friend though. And it's like, it's a family up there. And let me start from the beginning. Ganjier students sign up for an online training. And after they've done the online training, hopefully they don't, I guess, have to complete it before they start, but we highly recommend it, I believe, that they complete the online training. The online training can take anywhere from a couple weeks to a couple years, it goes through everything from history to consumption to the law to a number of other things, from cultivation to extraction and beyond. And that's kind of the online portion. And then they come and do a 2-day in-person training where we go over assessments. And we start with flowers. And day one, we do a flower assessment. And we start with, I believe it's the the appearance and the aroma categories. And by day two, we're doing the flavor and the experience. But also on day two, we do a farm tour where we go visit a local Southern Humboldt farm and show them what it's like on the ground.
Right on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, the Ganjier program's great. I've been watching that grow and love
and we do very quick
it's a neat
dive into concentrate assessments via a rosin sample or a rosin cartridge sample that I generally bring to the table for the students to start with an assessment, just to kind of get my take on it and how I would view a concentrate sample of something that I brought in, whether I made it or whether somebody from the family made it. Sometimes when I'm on tour so much, I have to bring in some things from the family. But generally all pretty fire. There might be an issue with it though, because that's part of the Ganjier program. Sometimes I want to bring in something that has an issue, and I want to show them or see if they can see where the issue lies or why this would not be rated a 10 on the scale. Why something I'm bringing in, even though it smells amazing, is rated a 4. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. No, for sure. Okay. Yeah. So, okay. So that's the Ganjier program, a little bit about that, and then tell me more about the Terp tour that you're doing.
Yeah, so the Terp tour this year kind of involves the Ganjier program. Is some stops on the Terp tour. I've just it started with the Essential Education in Denver, and I kind of took it on the road, and I did some collaborative events, and I've continued to kind of try and always combine a DJ event or a judging event or a hosting event or a demonstration or something to go along with all my stops. And that's kind of where it's turned into a tour. I'm constantly moving, and I can barely keep up. So another reason I created a tour was so I can make like a calendar and put it up on my Instagram. So when someone's like, where are you going to be this day? And I look at my Instagram, I'm like, oh, it looks like I'll be here. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect. No, that's good stuff, dude. Well, that sounds great. I look forward to checking out one of your classes and stuff. It'd be interesting to check that stuff out from that level. You know, I always like to learn more. I think I know a lot of stuff, but
same
I hope I
way,
learn
man.
something
I
new
learned
every
so
day,
much, and
you know?
I learned so much just from like doing the Ganjier program myself. Because not only am I an instructor, but I am, not all the instructors have completed the entire course and done the test themselves, and so I'm a Ganjier graduate, a certified Ganjier, but I'm also constantly learning. I learned so much from the other courses from the other teachers alone when we first started this program, like watching the history course with Frenchie and, you know, watching some of the other courses. I learned a lot, and I continue to learn from our students each and every day. And whenever I'm in a different lab every other week, it seems, on a consult or teaching a class or doing something. So I not only have the ability to build out and design these labs, which I've built out, I don't know, over 100 now, designed and built out over 100 of these labs for friends and consult clients. And, but every time I walk into a lab that I built that somebody, you know, might have done a little bit differently or set up, you know, some of the ducting differently or something, I learn every single time I pull up into a lab that I'm teaching at, for sure. And maybe I pull up to a lab and it's just a different consistency. And I'm like, always said I can put any consistency into a cart. Some of them might be a lot more difficult, but I'll pull up into a lab and it's just the highest THC content or THCA content ever. And I'm like, oh shit, this doesn't want to, you know, change its viscosity at all. It just wants to be a brick. And it's difficult, but we find a way.
Right.
We find a way. It won't be allocated for that product, and we learn that, you know, hey, don't take that cultivar running it in your methods and don't ever put it into carts. It's just going to take too long and too much money to get there. So you would change up your allocation for that cultivar. It's not a bad cultivar. Make jam out of it. Make THCA crystals out of it. Make, you know,
right. I mean, you know, what you're alluding to really is like the same thing I try to tell people all the time around selecting genetics. It's like you should be selecting for what your end result, 100%. What your end product's going to be. It's like, you know, what are you going to do with this thing? And you know, I've consulted many under the same thing. We I have a seed bank, and we help people connect with. At least I think we have 20 different breeders stuffed in stock. Immaculate Seeds is my partnership. We're out there in Missouri. Okay. We got a hemp license in Missouri and ship, you know, seeds wherever people need them. All these hemp seeds, you know. And, but, you know, so helping people find the right genetics. And then, you know, at the grow shop, it was always the case too. It's like if I wanted my, my clients and my friends and the community who shopped at our store to do good, man, the better genetics they had, the better off they were doing, and the more helpful we could be to each other. And, you know, and a successful client or partner or, you know, customer or community member that shops at your store, whatever you call your people that shop at your stuff, supporters, you know, family, all the stuff. The better they're doing, the better you're doing. And it was always this, it was easy to see for me real quick how important genetics were, you know, to success in the cannabis cultivation world, and even more so in the rosin world. You know, genetics are, that's what it's all about, the genetics. 100. And then how well it can be, how the trichomes can be collected and presented in their final masterpiece. You know, I feel that what the rosin makers are doing here is something that we put on we have a brand of rosin, Goat X, the greatest of all terps. And we got a ninth place spot. I always say you can't be that, you know, super proud of like ninth place or whatever, because I'm like, I always like to give out first place. You know, somebody
that's
wins,
huge, man. You know? Anything in top 10, anything in top 20 is huge at Emerald Cup, because there's 70 fucking entries there or some shit. Yeah.
Right.
Nice.
So Goat X,
nice.
That was our brand. We got ninth place, you know, and we were stoked. But I was trying to get at this little piece that we wrote about what we feel about this precision craftsmanship and agricultural artistry meet to create the finest concentrate currently available in the cannabis industry. This product represents decades of dedication to a process that creates what simply can be known as a masterpiece of modern engineering. Trichome and Terpene Collection has never been so pristine. You know, that's what, to me, that just represents, like, you know, the best rosin that I see, and all the craftsmanship that people like yourself put into what you're doing. I don't make the rosin here. I'm not owning this. I'm just trying to present this to the world the way I see it, you know, And anyway, that's our take on it. You know, my marketing director Lauren there, the middle agent, he helped write that and stuff. But anyway, that's just the way we feel about it, and trying to keep our artisanal crafts and our high quality, you know, individuals and farmers on the top shelf and up at, you know, leading the industry is really, that's my goal with any of the cannabis that I'm doing. It's like we're working to, and so I could see we align in those ways and have a lot of the same goals in that way. Just trying to keep, you know, that premium, you know, that good. Like you want to represent in a certain way, and so, you know, what are you looking for in the top rosin? You know, I know that. Thank you for being one of our judges at the Head Stash Championship. You know, we're having a rosin and flower competition, and I came to you. I was like, bro, if someone's going to help assess the rosin, like, seems like you should probably be involved in this judging and whatnot. So, like, tell the people out there that are about to enter their rosin, that are trying to win that shit, what are you looking for in the top rosin? How do you assess that?
One of the first things we all, I think, as judges look for is that jar pop. And when we open that jar, we want it to just smack us in the face. I want to smell those terps. If it's subdued, generally, it's not going to be in the top. It's just not. You know, even if it, like, tastes amazing and stuff, aroma is one of the things that we rate highly in most judging situations. And if it's lacking the aroma, generally gets knocked enough points where it's just from a physical point standpoint, it just doesn't make the cut. You know, the second you get knocked from that aroma, it's going to be tough. So first thing, you know, I'm looking for is aroma. I want it to slap me in the face. And then from there, I'm looking for an even consistency. You know, color is not as important to me, but I want it to be very even consistency. If it was meant to be fresh pressed and, you know, the judges get these samples pristinely and there's no problem with that SOP as far as the distribution, I want to see it, you know, as fresh pressed. If the example was meant to be very, you know, fluid, wet batter or something, I want it to be like that. I don't want to break into it and see like some drier, more crumbly points in the middle or even in the bottom. Sometimes when cold cure starts to age, you start seeing it almost crust out on the top and get a little bit more crumbly on the bottom, even with some of the higher grades. So I noticed even things like that, you know. I want an even consistency. Definitely. And of course, I want it to taste amazing. I want it to have a lingering flavor. I don't want to get any of the bad flavors, you know, even if the rosin looks amazing and smells amazing, and then I taste chlorine from Athena's line cleaner, it's gonna get knocked. You know what I mean?
I know. I just tasted, you know, at the Emerald Cup, you know, I tasted a couple award winners because there's, you know, 19 of each flower of the top flower ones, whatever. There's about 50 or more flower award winners, and I got a couple different flavors to taste and stuff. And yeah, I mean, right off the gates, I could taste. I totally tasted like some heavy 16 or something. Yeah. You know, it just wasn't a clean flush, you know. And hey,
yeah, or
your shit, man.
You know, sometimes flushes in certain applications aren't needed. You know, there's certain things depending on what you want your end product to be that you can do to manipulate, you know, those factors, if you will. If you're, but yeah, oftentimes what the flush does for salt growers and hash makers is it allows the sugars to be flushed out and the carbs to be flushed out for you to turn that thick waxy cuticle into something thinner, get more oils inside of that trichome head. So yeah, there's different variables to it.
Right on. Do you have like any special SOP type information you could share about a flush? Like, well, you were just talking some technical shit there. If anybody was paying attention, they would want to know a little bit more.
I mean, I've been teaching a lot about it, and like if you're growing with salts and you're trying to make hash and you're not flushing those synthetic nutrients out of the plants, because most of the salt formulas are going to have high sugar contents and high carb contents. And if you're not getting the out of
especially
the
at the
plant,
end.
it will affect how thick that waxy cuticle is on the trichome, and it'll affect how your yield. It'll affect the terpenes. It'll affect the color and how quick it oxidizes. Your yield from water hash to rosin will be heavily affected. That's really where it shines. You have so much more waxes that are left behind in that bag. Yeah, I think that that's been one of the issues that I've seen. You know, and there's certain times where you can pump certain micronutrients in a salt application, which would naturally decrease others. And you don't have to necessarily flush, but you're pushing out those carbs and those sugars the same way. So there's other ways to go about it. And that's not really my forte. But I've processed things where I've talked to the grower and they're like, oh no, I still cut it at this ppm, but it flushed out these nutrients, and and the uptake of these nutrients made it so that the flour burned clean and the press actually pressed okay. So there's weird tricks there to drop out nutrients that will create and drop out carbs, without like flushing with pure water, if you will.
Right on. I know someone was asking me the other day, they saw you were going to be on the program and they weren't going to be able to watch, and a friend of mine was like, "Yo, can you ask him something about a grower?" And the question was related to my answer is always it's all different. My answer is it's always different depending on genetics and how you're growing it. So the question was, how early before you would typically harvest the plant is typically the right time to harvest? To make rosin.
Somebody actually just talked to me. I was just talking to somebody about this as well, who had a washing cultivar from me, and it didn't wash as well as he had hoped. But we start hearing some more variables, and some cultivars will do fine if you pull them early, as long as you're flushing out that and you're getting that stable hardened off head. But other cultivars, they won't harden off. Those heads won't harden off. And they won't get to a point where you can really collect them properly and increase your yields in the bag. So there's certain cultivars where you need to take those to full fruition, if you will. And I'm generally not, there's a lot of variables. A lot of people talk. At Ganjier, we teach, Frenchie's method of not looking at the trichome colors, which I believe in. I'm not looking at the color of the trichome when I'm harvesting. I'm really harvesting according to the bract. The nature of the bract and the swollen nature of the bract and the decreasing nature of the stigma, if you will. Specifically for my OGs, like that's super, super important to take them to that full fruition. Otherwise, you're not getting the potency I want. So, I'm big on.
So not all strains you should cut early.
Some strains just won't harden out at that time. Highly don't recommend cutting early some strains.
Right on.
But you'll find strains that do great. You take them 40 days. I've got cultivars that are 40-day strains, 45-day strains, and those heads harden out, and I'm still seeing 6% yields. And those are the type of ones you keep around.
Right on. Right on. So I heard you mention something about some cultivars that you have or something like this. Is there somewhere that people can hook up with those?
Every once in a while I release some extra cuts. I think I just made a post about having some extra grapples and some extra dulces. The grapples sold. I think I have some extra dulce de uvas. The dulces are expensive though, because they were gifted as a washing cut. So they're expensive, but every once in a while I put out some clones for 15,
Tell me about that cultivar.
$25. Sometimes they're more. Dulce de uva is just a grape cream cake. I think F2, I believe this one was selected by the breeder. So that's really all I know about it. It's just it washes. It's the guy who gave it to me washes. And it's his biggest yielder, and he sees 6+% on it every time. We're still dialing it in. and I haven't actually done myself. I haven't washed an entire round of it, but it's one of the known washers out there right now.
Right on. I love to mess with that. Is that thing floating around
Could
Humboldt
be
or
on
what?
Sunday, I guess. I can make things float.
All right. We should link up, dog. All right. But yeah, I mean, just the idea that our community can connect like this and much easier in all these different ways we do, and to have this legalization's brought on a lot of different things, but to me, the thing I appreciate the most really is the ability to just kind of talk to everybody about these things and build the bridges for the community across the board, personally, I don't know, I'm just going off on that tangent. I guess that this joint I just smoked with this angel food cake got me super lit, but I'm just feeling that connection. So it brings us together.
Yeah, man, soon come. I'll be up there. Let's link when I'm up top. I gotta kind of run right now, bro. I'm sorry, but
right on. No, that's it, man. I was about to wrap it up. I said we've been on here over an hour, man. I appreciate your time.
Right on, bro. For sure,
Look forward to catching up some more, and I hope a lot of people tuned in. I hope they had a good time. It was a good time. It was a good conversation, dude. I look forward to the next one.
Thanks for having me. Cheers.
Thank you. Have a great weekend. Boom. So that was it, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. If anybody's got a question right now they want to throw in there, I can answer a couple questions before everybody hops off. Oh, people are coming on, even more people. What do you want to know? The Head Stash Championship. It's a cultivation and rosin competition, and your samples got to be in July 29th. So get that stuff cranking, get your rooms popping, and get your things ready. Nikka T is going to be one of our judges, and he knows what good rosin is. And all of our judges, whether they're going to be some of our community judges or whether they're some of our hand-selected judges, they know the fire. We're going to have 42 judges in the rosin category and 42 judges in the flower category. And if you want to be one of those judges and you're a community member and you think you deserve the right, I agree, and you want to be one of those people, go to the CANNIFEST website, click Get Involved, scroll down to the Head Stash Championship tab and click that. You can sign up there to be a judge. You can sign up right there to get involved with the competition and bring the fire to the table to win your chance to win the 10K. We're giving over 10K of cash and prizes away for the heady rosin and the heady nugs. So if you got it, bring it to the table. If you're a commercial grower in California, bring your headies. If you're a home grower, bring it too. Wherever you're growing, whatever you're growing, our judges be knowing what's the best. And because of that, we're going to give you some prizes. You should come up to CANNIFEST September 9th and 10th and join us in a big celebration of community where we come together in Humboldt's Manifest Cannabis Trade Show and Community Gathering. That's right. It's CANNIFEST and the Head Stash Championship. We're going to have a Head Stash Gala and award ceremony Friday, September 8th to announce the winners of the Head Stash. So if you want to get involved, go to our website, click Get Involved. There's plenty of things to get involved with. I just wanted to give that shout out. If you don't know Nikka T, follow his page. We got everything tagged on these links and stuff. And my man's got it going on. Essential Extracts in California, Essential Extracts LLC, Essential Extracts Artist. Check him out. He's going to be one of our judges, like I mentioned. Thank you, Nikka T, for the time today. Bring it to St. Louis. Come on out to Cali, yo. We'll bring it to St. Louis. We're going to bring CANNIFEST back to St. Louis, I promise. But we're going to bring it home first to Humboldt, September 9th and 10th. And thanks so much for joining. My name's Steve Gieder, your host with the most weed from coast to coast. And thanks for going out into the cannabis with me. It's time to come back and head out into the weekend. I hope you have a good one. Join me next week at 4:20 when I'll be talking to Tammy, the cannabis cutie. She's got all kinds of things going on, and you'll find more about it next Friday, 4:20 West Coast time.